Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to the Fungi Files. We've got an exciting project today where we're going to be spawning 2 jars of King Oyster to bulk and a jar of Shiitake. All of my grain is fully colonized and has been for about the last 3 or 4 days. And in today's episode, I'm going to walk you through how to spawn them to bulk using the unsupplemented hardwood substrate that we prepared in our previous video. Let's jump in. Before we get started, let's go over the supplies that we're going to need for today's video. We have our colonized spawn jars and our bulk substrate that we created in our last video. You also need a sterilized mixing tub, gloves, and some clean water to keep everything hydrated. First up, let's talk about substrate. In a previous video, I showed you how to hydrate and prepare unsupplemented hardwood pellets, which we'll be using for both King Oyster and Shiitake mushrooms. This substrate provides a great nutrient-rich environment for wood-loving mushrooms like these. If you missed that video, I'll link it in the description so you can go ahead and watch the full prep process. With our substrate ready, we can go ahead and move to mixing it with our spawn. I'm going to be doing this at about a 1:4 ratio. Now we're going to combine the spawn with the substrate. For the King Oysters, we're going to be using about a 1:4 ratio of spawn to substrate. I'm going to start by using a small layer on the bottom of these bags. With our bag layered, we're going to go ahead and work on breaking up our colonized grain spawn. We might have to get a tool to break this up. I did let this go pretty long. Definitely. With a isopropyl alcohol sanitized knife and our spawn, we should be good to break it up. Super dense mycelium in there, but super healthy, clean looking spawn. That should all be about broken up. And we can combine the rest of it. I really want to thoroughly mix the spawn that we have in here already. At this point, I am going to add another decent amount of spawn. And mix it all up. With it all fairly mixed, I am going to release the rest of the air, fold the bag over, and try and compress this block just a little bit to let it colonize. Press that over. With our first bag spawned out, we are going to go ahead and repeat the same process with our second jar of King Oyster, and the same thing for our Shiitake. With our second jar of King Oyster broken up, we're going to go ahead and mix it into the substrate bag. With that thoroughly mixed, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more substrate and compact it down like the first bag. And with the first 2 bags prepped, we can go ahead and finalize by completing our shiitake spot to bulk. Shiitake generally, upon full colonization, will get this brown tinting to their mycelium. A lot of people tend to think this is contamination. However, with it being this colonized, it is just part of the colonization of the specific species. With it broken up, we can go ahead and move it to the bag. And with all 3 blocks packed tightly, they're good to be put up on the shelf to incubate for the next few weeks. And since these bags don't have any kind of proper ventilation, we are going to add our own with micropore tape to go ahead and let the mycelium breathe. We have wiped down our hands and all of these surfaces with isopropyl alcohol. There's some fresh micropore tape. And a clean X-Acto knife. I am just going to make a hole, put some tape on it. This may not be necessary. This is my first time trying to grow with these bags. However, eventually we're going to have to put a hole in these bags for the growth if I don't decide to spawn them out into bigger tubs. Right now it's more of an issue of a lack of more fruiting containers. I already have quite a few things going on right now, so I'm experimenting with ways to compactly grow these mushrooms. And don't forget to properly label. And that's it for today's episode of the Fungi Files. In just a few easy steps, we've spawned both King Oyster and Shiitake mushroom to bulk using unsupplemented hardwood pellets. I'll be checking in as these mushrooms colonize and fruit, so make sure you're subscribed and have the notifications turned on so you don't miss any updates. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to share it with fellow mushroom growers. Thanks for joining us today.